Shalom uvracha. In this week's Parsha, Parshas Chukas, there's a fascinating episode that takes place soon after the death of Aaron. The Torah tells us that soon after Aaron dies, the nation once again complains against Moshe and against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why did you take us out of Mitzrayim to die in the desert? We don't have any bread, we don't have any water, and we're sick of this bread that we've been eating here in the desert. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds by bringing a very strange plague upon Am Yisrael. The Torah says, "Vayishalach Hashem ba'am et hanechashim hasrafim." God sends, or God lets loose, the poisonous serpents against Am Yisrael. Vayashchu et ha'am, and they bite the nation. Vayamas am rav Yisrael, and many people from Am Yisrael die. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands Moshe, in order to help save the rest of Am Yisrael, commands Moshe to make a nechash nechoshet, a copper snake, to put it on top of a pole and to hold up this nechash nechoshet. And when Am Yisrael would look at the snake, then they would be healed. And that is how the rest of the nation saved themselves, by looking at the snake and being saved from the bite of the nechashim hasrafim, these poisonous snakes. What exactly is going on with this plague? Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring such a strange plague upon Am Yisrael? And why is it that only when they looked at the nechash nechoshet, when Am Yisrael looked at that copper snake on top of the pole, that they were thereby saved? Rosh Hashanah Hirsch, in his commentary on the Torah, brings a fascinating explanation to this entire episode. He notes that there is strange language in the way the Torah describes HaKadosh Baruch Hu bringing this plague to Am Yisrael. The pasuk says, "Vayishalach Hashem ba'am." The word "vayishalach," used instead of the word "vayishlach," implies something different. "Vayishlach" implies that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent snakes. "Vayishalach," says Rav Hirsch, actually suggests that HaKadosh Baruch Hu set loose the snakes. What's the difference? Well, it says, first, if you look carefully at the continuation of the pasuk doesn't say that God sends random snakes. Rather, God lets loose 8 hanechashim hasrafim, the poisonous snakes, referencing a specific snakes that apparently were in the Midbar already. Says Rav Hirsch, the plague that came upon Am Yisrael here was not a plague of new snakes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created and brought upon the nation. Rather, these were snakes that surrounded the camp of Am Yisrael their entire time in the desert. And the only reason they didn't hurt Am Yisrael, and they didn't create a plague upon Am Yisrael, was because HaKadosh Baruch Hu protected them. And this time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that rather than creating something new, all he did was remove his protection, kiviyachol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu stopped his protection of Am Yisrael from these snakes and allowed these snakes to enter the camp and to create a plague upon Am Yisrael. And so the snakes that came were snakes that had been there all along. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu had been protecting Am Yisrael from these snakes. And it was because of their complaint that this time around HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to simply remove his protection and enable these snakes to now cause a plague upon Am Yisrael. How are they saved? How were they saved? By simply looking at this copper snake. Says Rav Hirsch, what happened was that when Am Yisrael looked at the copper snake, it helped them remember that all along they had been protected by Am Yisrael. They didn't realize it. They didn't realize what was going on around them, around the camp in the desert. But all along there were dangerous animals, including these poisonous snakes, that had been surrounding them the entire time, and only were unable to hurt them because of God's protection. By looking at the copper snake, they were reminded that all along they had been protected by Am Yisrael. That all along HaKadosh Baruch Hu had been protecting them from unknown dangers. And only once they realized and remembered that they had been protected, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had been protecting them all along without their realization, only once they realized and remembered that were they healed from the snakes, from the bite of these snakes. The message from Rav Hirsch is a powerful one for our own lives as well. To use the language of Rav Hirsch himself, nothing is so thoroughly calculated to conciliate us in the everyday disappointments in life, which so easily sting us to impatience, than the knowledge and conviction of the abyss on the narrow edge of which the whole path of our life treads, and which the loving hand of God veils from our sight. Says Rav Hirsch, the only thing that will help us feel better about our own lives, about the challenges in our lives, is the knowledge that things could be much worse. Is the knowledge that all along throughout our lives, throughout every day of our lives, HaKadosh Baruch Hu continues to protect us, continues to guide us from things that could be much, much worse. And when we appreciate that, and we realize that, when we realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, every day of our lives, despite our challenges, it's constantly guiding us, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu guided Am Yisrael in the Midbar, and protected them from so many dangers that were unknown to them. so too HaKadosh Baruch Hu guides us in our lives and protects us from so many things that we're not aware of. When we appreciate that, when we understand that, then it helps us deal with the challenges and vicissitudes of life and to be able to appreciate the Yad Hashem that exists in our lives every single day. Wishing everybody a wonderful day and a Shabbat Shalom.